David here with Figboot on Pens, back again with another fountain pen review. Today I have for you a review of a brand new pen launching very soon, or possibly it's already launched depending on when I actually post this, but either way it is new, and new is always fun to check out. It is a pen from the Philadelphia-based manufacturer Schon DSGN, who has consistently been experimenting with new designs and materials. The pen I'm going to show you today is of a material that isn't used for pens that often. I'll talk about that, as well as some of the other new design elements incorporated into this new pen, which is called the Peak. But its nickname is the Peekaboo. What I'm going to do today is go over the parts and features of this new offering, talk about what I care for and what I don't care for about it. I'll show some measurements, size comparisons, and provide a writing sample. Thanks go out to Ian Schon, the man behind the brand, for providing this pen hot off the production line for me to review. Ian mentioned that the pen he sent was the very first model of this pen produced, so that's kind of cool. And here is the pen. This is the Schon DSGN Peak, or Peekaboo. The name is a bit of a play on words. I'll talk about it more in a moment, but the pen is made from a plastic called Peak. There is also a song by the band Devo called Peekaboo. If you're not old enough to be familiar with Devo, they were popular. I'll call them an alternative band back in the 1980s. They had a number of popular songs like Whip It and Freedom of Choice and a cool cover of the Rolling Stones' Satisfaction. Their success kind of aligned with the birth of MTV. They kind of had a knack for creating visually appealing videos to accompany their quirky songs. Okay, back to the pen. The third play on words is symbolized by a little ghost engraved on the barrel, which I'll show you here close up in a minute. It's almost Halloween, you know. In regard to the pen itself, this is identical in dimensions to the other models in the Schon DSGN's engineered plastics lineup, mainly the Ultim and the Black Ultim. Here's a picture of all three models together. The Peak will be a limited run of 200 units. Now, what is Peak? Peak is short for polyether ether ketone. It is a high-performance engineering plastic with outstanding resistances to harsh chemicals and has excellent strength and stability. It's used a lot in science and medical applications. It's used a lot in aerospace, the oil and gas industries, food and beverage production, as well as the production of semiconductors. This specific material in this pen is called Virgin Peak. It is naturally abrasion resistant, and visually the material is pretty much a straight tan. It's a unique material for consumer goods. Let's start by taking a look at the top of the cap. It comes to a rounded point. The cap is clipless and angles up just slightly, about 1 millimeter from beginning to about this point where it straightens out. At the end of the cap, we have something new to a Schon DSGN pen, and that is some branding. On one side, it is engraved with the company name, and then on the other side, there is a little ghost. After all, this is the Peekaboo model, so a little ghost is appropriate. He is the cutest little thing, and it really looks like he's waving at you. I feel the branding and ghost look great. They are machined and not laser engraved. The quality and attention to detail really shows. The lines are very crisp and clean. In my review of the Schon DSGN Ultim pen a while back, I had mentioned that some branding would be nice on either the nib or the exterior of the pen. Schon DSGN makes some great pens with very high cool factor, and I feel that it helps to have some identifying factor on the pen to help folks know where it originates. The branding on this pen is really subtle, and I don't feel it takes away from the overall look of the pen. It really blends in well and isn't distracting. With the branding being machined, I'm told that it provided a few challenges. They are weighing whether or not it's something that'll be included on future Schon DSGN models. Whether it is or not, it's nice to see a manufacturer implement suggestions in order to potentially improve their product. There is a small step down to the barrel, which is straight for about 2 inches before tapering down, and then on the end of the barrel it comes to a rounded point, a bit smaller than the one on the top of the cap. The cap twists off with 2 1/4 rotations, and underneath we have a number 6 stainless steel Jowo nib. This pen is available in extra fine, fine, medium, broad, and both 1.1 and 1.5 millimeter stubs. Now, for the Ultim model, there was a section that you could purchase which accommodated a Bach 380 nib, which is their number 8 sized nib. There isn't a section of that size available for the Peak, but the parts for each of their engineered plastic models are interchangeable. So if you have one of those sections for the Ultim, or if you purchase one, then it will fit this pen. And then you'll just have a hybrid Peak Ultim pen. And here's a look at the plastic feed. The section is concave and a medium in size. It's not too short and not overly long. It transitions into the threads, which are not sharp or uncomfortable if your grip should rest on them. And then a medium-sized step up to the remainder of the barrel. The Peak is plenty long enough to use unposted, and I do find it comfortable and well balanced in the hand. It is rather light. While it is not very hefty, the material doesn't feel cheap in your hand. It feels like a quality pen. The cap is not designed to post. It kind of posts if you force it on the end of the barrel, but it's not too secure. It's a pen that's designed to use unposted and works well in those regards. This is a cartridge converter pen. It accepts standard international cartridges and a converter is provided. With the lack of metal in this pen and the barrel being one solid piece, it would be a perfect pen to eyedropper if you choose to do so. While I would still apply a little silicone grease to the threads, there is an O-ring on the section to help provide a solid barrier. There's also an O-ring on the interior of the cap. This comes into contact with the section during the last half turn of capping the pen and really helps keep it secure. It's a nice design. The Schon Design Peekaboo, or just the Peak as you might find it on the Schon Design site, will retail for $275. Now that's not insignificant, but what you're going to receive here is a solid pen from a unique material, and you're supporting a small manufacturer who provides a great product and is continually innovating and raising the bar of what they produce. Putting all of that together, I feel that it's worth checking out. Thanks again go out to Ian for providing this pen for review. There is a link in the notes below where you can check this pen out on the Schon Design site. With only 200 of these pens available, it would not surprise me if these pens did not last very long. So if you're interested, I would recommend taking action sooner rather than later. Okay, now it is time for some measurements, size comparisons, and a writing sample. Here we go with some size comparisons for the Schon Design Peak. I just want to give you another look at the branding on there, as well as the little ghost. He's just the cutest little guy. But in regard to some other pens, this is what it looks like in regard to the Schon Design Ultim. Like I said, it's the exact same dimensions and virtually the same weight. It's just almost exactly the same weight. Here it is with another Ultim pen, which is the Kasama Tala. And then finally, here is one more pen from Schon Design, and this is a Pocket 6. And I really like the finish on here, and it just looks really cool, and it's one of my favorite pocket pens. In regard to a couple other pens, here it is with a spoke icon, and here it is with a Faber-Castell loom, and then finally here it is with a Lamy 2000. In regard to some uncapped comparisons, this is what it looks like with the Tala, and this is what it looks like with the Pocket 6. Now, I've gone ahead and posted this since that's how you're going to be using a Pocket 6. And then here it is with the Lamy 2000. Here we go with the writing sample for the Schon Design. That's DSGN, and this is the Peak. Oh, we'll call it the Peekaboo. 2 O's there. And this is a medium stainless steel nib. And the ink that I'm using is one of my favorite inks lately, is one that I've been using a lot is Visconti Turquoise. I will say that when I was inking up this pen, that it did, I want to say stain the section, but if just using a dry tissue did not get off all the ink, but as soon as you used a wet tissue, it came right off. So it's one of those sections that you're going to want to use a wet tissue or a wet rag as opposed to, or a damp rag as opposed to just a dry tissue. This is what the ink looks like. It's a really nice, vibrant turquoise. Here it is with Pineider turquoise. And then here it is with something that's just a little bit lighter, which is the Papier Plume Peacock Blue. This is what the ink bottle looks like. Visconti makes one of my favorite looking ink bottles. I know it's hard to see from this angle, but there's not much ink left in here. I've done a good job of getting this ink down, and sooner or later I'm going to have to buy a new bottle of this because it is one of my favorite blue inks. And here we go with the rest of the writing sample. I find this medium Yovo nib to write very well. With it being stainless steel, you're not going to get a lot of line variation. I was pushing it rather hard there, and it really didn't get much line variation at all. In regard to ink flow on this medium nib, it's decent. And in regard to reverse writing, you can see on this particular nib, reverse writing isn't necessarily its strength. But in regard to some fast writing, the feet had no issue in keeping up. So here we have the Schon Design Peak, or Peekaboo, whatever you'd like to call it. I think that Schon Design, as I mentioned before, has done a really good job of coming up with some new and innovative products in the market, and it's always been fun to check them out. So I encourage you to do so. And like I mentioned, with only 200 of these available, if it's something that interests you, you should probably take action sooner rather than later before they're gone, because once they're gone, they're gone. I don't believe they're going to do another run of these. At least that's my understanding for right now. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.